14. Guidance for 14 is already here. Okay. The child within. The mother, innocence, gentleness, tenderness. Okay, so again, this is going to depend on who I'm talking to. If you've been on a particularly, if you're into this vernacular, this vocabulary of the kind of spiritual world, I don't like the word spiritual world because it's kind of been bastardized. If you're familiar with the talk about inner child, I would like you to listen to what I'm saying in case you hear anything that you've not heard, but you know this journey. You know this journey. If you're new to this concept, as adults, it is assumed that most of the external comforts of life are within our control. So, for example, we spend time, and I know this is not true of everybody. I understand that this is not true, but hear me out. So we spend the time with the people that we want to spend time with. We live in the place we want to live in. What the food that we eat is our choice. The things that we drink are our choice. The job that we do is our choice. Okay, so a lot of those things, as an adult, we are supposed to have the kind of element of control over it. When we were a child, those fundamental basic things were outside of our control. And so even if there was no specific neglect or abuse happening, because there was for many children, but even if there was no specific neglect or abuse to speak of, there were traumatic elements that were done with the best of intention by parents who maybe followed a particular religion or a particular diet, or that something that didn't align necessarily with what you as a soul, because when you're a child you are closest to the messages of your soul, what you as a soul knew to be the case or knew to be right. So quite often, and we see this with our own children, there is this conflict, even in the most caring of parents, there is this conflict between what the child wants to do and what you need it to do because of how that fits in with the rest of your day or your life. Okay, so now that we recognize that, therefore, within each of us, there is this like Russian doll set of children that get younger and younger and younger who have certain issues. Because for whatever reason, either through maliciousness, neglect, or even good intentions, and simply just parents' conditioning, their needs weren't met. Okay, so the theory is that, or the belief is that these inner children still exist within us. And quite often when we're making decisions or interacting with people, it's not the adult, safe, secure version of us that is in play at that time. It's one of these inner children. It's one of these wounded, sulking inner children. And as adults, it is part of our mission to go within and meet these inner children and reassure them that everything is now in our hands. Okay, now you may not be able to reassure this child that things are right and in your hands, because all of those things I mentioned before about, are you living in the place you want to live in? None of that might be true. Or you might be eating what you're eating because finances dictate that you do. You might be living in a place because finances or circumstances or jobs dictate you do. You might be doing a job that you hate because you have to have a job. This is a cyclical relationship. This is a symbiotic relationship. The chances are, if you are in those situations, you are acting from your wounded self, your wounded child, one of them. It is the whole issue and discussion. It's a bit like chicken and egg. You will find that the more layers that you heal, the better the outside conditions become. And literally, the two cards on here that speak to me are gentleness and tenderness. The only way to deal with these inner children or inner wounded versions of us, they can be inner teenagers, they can be inner 20-year-olds, whatever. The only way to deal with them and to heal them is with gentleness and tenderness. And that gentleness and tenderness is the archetype of the inner mother. Now again, your inner mother needs to be clean and well and healthy for you to display those tendencies. The inner mother within you, if it's wounded, can behave like an absolute fucking narcissist and be completely controlling for the child and whatever. I'm not going to go, this is a massive subject, but what I want you to feel into, you may not have a mother available in physical world. You may not have an adequate mother emotionally or in other ways to help you on any kind of quest. You may have a very difficult relationship with your mother. This journey and this wound and healing of this wound, as with all of it, is an inside job. This card does not speak to your mother or your children, but the relationships that you're having with these people are reflecting to you the work that you need to do internally. So it's a huge task. This is not something you can deal with tomorrow, this is it's a very complex thing. But with all these things, all we need to do in the very first instance is shine the light of recognition on them. And once we've done that, once we've acknowledged this as a thing, then we can start to get the breadcrumbs of the clues as to what are the wounds and what are the salves.